Welcome to the realm of cinematic disasters, where the Golden Raspberry Awards, or Razzies, dishonor the worst films ever made. From boring comedies and exploitation horror to failed thrillers, these films have left a notorious mark on the industry. Join us as we delve into the winners of the Worst Picture Award, where abysmal acting, awful special effects, and cringe-worthy plots converge to create these cinematic disasters. Madame Web won 3 Razzie Awards, solidifying its place as one of the worst superhero movies of all time. The film took home awards for Worst Picture, Worst Actress for Dakota Johnson, and Worst Screenplay. Criticized for its incoherent storyline and chaotic execution, Madame Web has been widely panned by critics and audiences alike, making it a notable example of a failed superhero film. After Christopher Robin abandons them for college, Pooh and Piglet embark on a bloody rampage as they search for a new source of food. The film was panned by critics, receiving 5 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, Worst Screen Combo, and Worst Remake, Rip-Off or Sequel. The story of American actress Marilyn Monroe, covering her love and professional lives. The movie received 8 nominations at the 43rd Golden Raspberry Awards, winning Worst Picture and Worst Screenplay. The dazzling and devastating life of Princess Diana takes center stage in this original musical, filmed in advance of its official Broadway opening. The film received 8 nominations at the 42 Road Golden Raspberry Awards, winning Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Actress, Worst Supporting Actress and Worst Screenplay. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell's film claiming a Chinese cyber attack flipped the 2020 election. Absolute Proof won 2 awards, the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture and the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor, for Lindell. A tribe of cats called the Jellicles must decide yearly which one will ascend to the Heaviside layer and come back to a new Jellicle life. It won 6 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Tom Hooper; Worst Supporting Actor, James Corden; Worst Supporting Actress, Rebel Wilson; Worst Screen Combo and Worst Screenplay, Lee Hall and Tom Hooper. A humorous take on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's classic mysteries featuring Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Holmes and Watson won 4 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Etan Cohen; Worst Actor, Will Ferrell; and Worst Supporting Actor, John C. Reilly. Gene, a multi-expressional emoji, sets out on a journey to become a normal emoji. It won 4 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Tony Leondis; Worst Screen Combo, Any Two Obnoxious Emojis; and Worst Screenplay, Tony Leondis, Eric Siegel, and Mike White. Documentarian Dinesh D'Souza analyzes the history of the Democratic Party and what he thinks are Hillary Clinton's true motivations. It won Worst Picture, Worst Director, Dinesh D'Souza; Worst Actor, Dinesh D'Souza; and Worst Actress, Michaela Krantz and Rebecca Turner. Literature student Anastasia Steele's life changes forever when she meets handsome, yet tormented, billionaire Christian Grey. 50 Shades of Grey won 5 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Jamie Dornan; Worst Actress, Dakota Johnson; Worst Screen Combo, Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan; and Worst Screenplay, Kelly Marcel. 4 young outsiders teleport to an alternate and dangerous universe which alters their physical form in shocking ways. The 4 must learn to harness their new abilities and work together to save Earth from a former friend turned enemy. It won Worst Picture, Worst Director, Josh Trank; and Worst Prequel, Remake, Rip-Off or Sequel. His annual Christmas party faltering thanks to his cynical brother-in-law, former Growing Pains star Kirk Cameron attempts to save the day by showing him that Jesus Christ remains a crucial component of the over-commercialized holiday. It won 4 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Kirk Cameron; Worst Screenplay, and Worst Screen Combo, Kirk Cameron and His Ego. A series of interconnected short films follows a washed-up producer as he pitches insane storylines featuring some of the biggest stars in Hollywood: Halle Berry, Hugh Jackman, Richard Gere, Emma Stone, Jeremy Allen White, Uma Thurman and Kate Winslet. It won Worst Picture, Worst Director and Worst Screenplay. After the birth of Renesmee, Nessie, the Cullens gather other vampire clans in order to protect the child from a false allegation that puts the family in front of the Volturi. The film received a total of 7 Razzie Awards, which was more than any other film that year, Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Kristen Stewart, Worst Supporting Actor, Taylor Lautner, Worst Screen Couple, Mackenzie Foy and Taylor Lautner, Worst Screen Ensemble, Worst Director, Bill Condon, and Worst Remake, Rip-Off, or Sequel. Family Guy, Jack Sadelstein, prepares for the annual event he always dreads, the Thanksgiving visit of his fraternal twin sister, the needy and passive-aggressive Jill, who then refuses to leave. Jack and Jill won a total of 10 Razzies in 2012. The categories it won include Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Adam Sandler for both Jack and Jill, Worst Actress, Adam Sandler for Jill, Worst Supporting Actor, Al Pacino, Worst Supporting Actress, David Spade as Monica, Worst Director, Dennis Duggan, Worst Screen Ensemble, the entire cast, Worst Screenplay, Worst Prequel, Remake, Rip-Off, or Sequel, Worst On-Screen Couple, Adam Sandler and either Katie Holmes, Al Pacino, or Sandler. Follows the adventures of Aang, a young successor to a long line of avatars, who must master all 4 elements and stop the Fire Nation from enslaving the Water Tribes and the Earth Kingdom. It won 5 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Director, M. Night Shyamalan, Worst Screenplay, M. Night Shyamalan, Worst Supporting Actor, Jackson Rathbone, and Worst Eye-Gouging Misuse of 3D, a special category created for that year. Sam Witwicky leaves the Autobots behind for a normal life. But when his mind is filled with cryptic symbols, the Decepticons target him and he is dragged back into the Transformers war. It won 3 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Michael Bay, and Worst Screenplay, Roberto Orci, Aaron Kruger, and Alex Kurtzman. Pitka, an American raised outside of his country by gurus, returns to the States in order to break into the self-help business. His first challenge is to settle the romantic troubles and subsequent professional skid of a star hockey player whose wife left him for a rival athlete. It won 3 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Mike Myers, and Worst Screenplay, Mike Myers and Graham Gordy. A young woman who is missing reappears, but she claims to be someone else entirely. I Know Who Killed Me won 7 Golden Raspberry Awards, including Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Lindsay Lohan, and Worst Director, Chris Sivertson. Novelist Catherine Tramail is once again in trouble with the law, and Scotland Yard appoints psychiatrist Dr. Michael Glass to evaluate her. Though, like Detective Nick Curran before him, Glass is entranced by Tramail and lured into a seductive game. It won 4 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Sharon Stone, Worst Director, Michael Caton Jones, and Worst Screenplay, Leora Barish and Henry Bean. A jilted photographer goes on a mission to get back at her philandering model boyfriend and along the way discovers that not all love is created equal. It won 3 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Jenny McCarthy, and Worst Director, John Asher. A shy woman, endowed with the speed, reflexes, and senses of a cat, walks a thin line between criminal and hero, even as a detective doggedly pursues her, fascinated by both of her personas. Catwoman won a total of 4 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Halle Berry, Worst Director, Pitt of, and Worst Screenplay. Larry Geely is assigned by a crime boss to kidnap the brother of a prominent district attorney. A beautiful woman known only as Ricky is sent to stay with him to make sure he doesn't mess up the job. It won 6 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Ben Affleck, Worst Actress, Jennifer Lopez, Worst Screen Couple, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, Worst Director, Martin Brest, and Worst Screenplay, Martin Brest. A snooty socialite is stranded on a Mediterranean island with a communist sailor. It won 5 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Madonna, Worst Director, Guy Ritchie, Worst Screen Couple, Madonna and Adriano Giannini, and Worst Remake or Sequel. An unemployed cartoonist moves back in with his parents and younger brother Freddie. When his parents demand he leave, he begins to spread rumors that his father is sexually abusing Freddie. It won 5 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Tom Green, Worst Director, Tom Green, Worst Screenplay, Tom Green, and Worst Screen Couple. It's the year 3000 AD, and the Earth is lost to the alien race of Cyclos. Humanity is enslaved by these gold-thirsty tyrants, who are unaware that their man-animals are about to ignite the rebellion of a lifetime. Battlefield Earth won a total of 8 Razzies in the year 2000. It holds the record for the most Razzie wins in a single year. The categories it won include Worst Picture, Worst Director, Barry Pepper, Worst Actor, John Travolta, Worst Supporting Actor, Barry Pepper, Worst Supporting Actress, Kelly Preston, Worst Screenplay, Worst Screen Couple, John Travolta and anyone sharing the screen with him, and Worst Original Song. The two best special agents in the Wild West must save President Grant from the clutches of a diabolical, wheelchair-bound, steampunk-savvy, Confederate scientist bent on revenge for losing the Civil War. It won 5 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Barry Sonnenfeld, Worst Screenplay, Jim and John Thomas, S.S. Wilson, and Brent Maddock, Worst Original Song, Wild Wild West by Will Smith and Kool Moe Dee, and Worst Screen Couple, Will Smith and Kevin Kline. When a rookie filmmaker with the unfortunate name Alan Smithee realizes he's an unwitting studio puppet, being forced to make a big-budget action movie he knows is horrible, he steals the master reels and tries to make a deal. A nameless drifter dons a postman's uniform and bag of mail as he begins a quest to inspire hope to the survivors living in post-apocalyptic America. A stripper and single mother gets dragged into a dangerous situation after a congressman takes a fancy to her. Carefree young drifter Nomi arrives in Las Vegas, Nevada to become a dancer and sets about clawing her way to the top of the Vegas showgirls. A colorblind psychoanalyst is stalked by an unknown killer after taking over his murdered friend's therapy group, all of whom have a connection to a mysterious young woman that he begins having intense sexual encounters with. A billionaire, Robert Redford, offers $1 million to a young married couple for one night with the wife. An American woman of Irish and Jewish German parentage goes undercover in Nazi Germany. A cat burglar, Bruce Willis, is forced to steal Da Vinci works of art for a world domination plot. It won 3 Razzies: Worst Picture, Worst Director and Worst Screenplay. A vulgar private detective is hired to find a missing groupie and is drawn into a mystery involving a series of murders tied to the music industry. Elderly Scott kills himself after a heart attack wrecks his body, but then comes back as a ghost and convinces his loving young hot wife Katie to pick and kill a young man in order for Scott to possess his body and be with her again. Captain James Kirk and his crew must deal with Mr. Spock's long-lost half-brother who hijacks the Enterprise for an obsessive search for God at the center of the galaxy. A talented New York City bartender takes a job at a bar in Jamaica and falls in love. Secret agent Leonard Parker, Bill Cosby, is called out of retirement to save the world from evil genius Medusa Johnson, Gloria Foster. A sarcastic humanoid duck is pulled from his homeworld to Earth where he must stop an alien invasion with the help of a nerdy scientist and a struggling female rock singer. 2 con artist brothers attempt to swindle a soon-to-be wealthy heiress, but things get complicated when one falls in love with her. Rambo returns to the jungles of Vietnam on a mission to infiltrate an enemy base camp and rescue the American POWs still held captive there. Set in the 1920s, a young woman sets out to lose her virginity. Her mission leads her to a Moroccan sheikh and a Spanish bullfighter. Hoping to achieve success in Hollywood, a young aspiring screenwriter allows others to exploit her. She goes through affair after sordid affair in her attempt to write her own screenplay and have it produced. During the Korean War, General Douglas MacArthur masterminds the amphibious invasion of Incheon in September 1950. The abusive and traumatic adoptive upbringing of Christina Crawford at the hands of her mother, screen queen Joan Crawford, is depicted. 1980 Can't Stop the Music, a pseudo-autobiography of disco's The Village People.